Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Today I am going through my favorite art supplies. First up is my sketchbook. Of course, I can't talk about art supplies without talking about my sketchbooks. So I have here a Royal Talons art creation. I have a few different sizes. I have the larger one here, which is 8 inches by like 11.5 inches or so. And then I also have the smaller ones, which are around, I think it's like 5 by 8 or so inches. And I'm comparing it to my Moleskine sketchbook, which I'm currently using, and they're basically the same. I would say the Moleskine is probably my runner-up for my favorite sketchbook. I just like the Royal Talons a little bit more, mostly because I like that they come in different colors. So I have a couple new ones ready to go here. So like I have a white one and this pretty like mint green color. I think they come in like pink and lavender and yellow, like just all kinds of crazy colors. So I like that. But yeah, I definitely like the Moleskine as like a runner-up for sure. For pencils, I like to sketch in color, mostly because I want to make sure if I am coloring my sketch in with markers or watercolor or something like that, regular graphite tends to make the colors muddy, so I almost always sketch in color. And so I have all of my pencils here. I use a lot of Polaris pencils, but I would say that my actual favorite is probably the Blackwing Red. I like the Polaris for the range of different colors that they come in, but the Blackwing Red is definitely my favorite, even though it only comes in this one color. So I would say that I mostly use Blackwing Red, and it's definitely my favorite, but my second choice would be Prismacolor Polaris. The Blackwing is much like their graphite pencils. It's very soft and you can get like a really wide range of lines. You can get like really soft lines or you can go really dark. So I really enjoy using these pencils a lot. Next, I have my Copic sketch markers. These are my favorite markers ever. I do also have a lot of Ohuhu alcohol markers that I use quite a bit, but Copic is my all-time favorite. These have a chisel tip and a brush tip, and I definitely use the brush tip a lot more, but the chisel tip is useful sometimes. So yeah, I'm comparing this to my Ohuhus, and I definitely have way more Ohuhus than I do Copics just because of the price, but I think the Copics, in my opinion, are a little bit more consistent. Just little things like the cap colors more consistently match the ink color with Copic, and the ink flow I feel like is a little bit more consistent. So in colors that I use all the time, I keep Copics, but for having like a wide range, like a huge collection of colors, I have Ohuhus, just because they're a lot cheaper. Next up, I have my watercolors. I use watercolor quite a bit. I really enjoy them. And over the last couple years, I've accumulated a couple different palettes. So I have these are Van Gogh palettes. It's like a bright color palette and like an earthy muted colors palette. These were the first watercolors I ever bought, and I really enjoyed them. I used them a lot, and they kind of opened the door for me to fall down a little bit of a watercolor rabbit hole. So after that, I got this. This is a Winsor Newton Cotman, I think, watercolor palette. This actually came in, I want to say this came in an Art Snacks. No, this came in a sketch box. So you can see I haven't used it yet. I just kind of have it here. It's really pretty. I want to use it. I just haven't. I have a lot of watercolors to work through first. And then this one is, what brand is this? Hold on. Oh, this is the Art Philosophy Co. Pastel Dreams watercolor palette. These are nice. I like them. I don't use them a lot, but I do like them occasionally. I think they're definitely more of like a summer thing for me, so I don't really use them that much in the winter. And then this is my art toolkit collaboration with Traveler's Company travel and sketch palette. It came pre-filled with, these are, I'm pretty sure, Van Gogh watercolors in the small pans, and then the beige, gray, and white are Daniel Smith that I added. And this is like my travel watercolor palette because it's super tiny. And then I have this is a portable painter that I put Daniel Smith watercolors in. I have the little swatch card here, but I don't use this one as much just because I find that when I'm traveling, I tend to use the travel and sketch palette with a water brush instead of this one. This one feels a little bit bulky to me. It's like a little bit unwieldy to use when traveling, and then when I'm at home I tend to use my Paul Rubens a little bit more, but the paints in this are like really pretty. I love the Daniel Smith watercolors so much, and they're probably my favorite actual paints, but in terms of my favorite palette that I like to use, it's this one. This is my Paul Rubens, I think it's a 24 color set, right? 24? Yeah. This is the Paul Rubens 24 color set. The colors in this palette are super pretty. They're very vibrant. They are obviously not on par with my Daniel Smith watercolors, but for everyday use, when I'm just messing around in my sketchbook, I don't necessarily want to use super expensive paints, and I feel like these are a really good middle ground between price and quality. I don't ever feel like I'm missing out on the pigmentation or anything like that, because I'm not typically painting in a watercolor sketchbook. I'm usually using my Royal Talons, and that's not watercolor paper anyway, so it's not like I'm gonna get a super bang for my buck in terms of using really expensive, beautiful watercolors. It's just the paper is not meant for that. So I really like these for that, and they don't feel precious at all because they're pretty cheap, especially if you compare them to Daniel Smith or something like that. So I don't feel like I have to be super cautious or anything with them. I just kind of use them however I feel like it, and when one of the colors runs out, I refill it with the Daniel Smith one. So I think the gray in this one actually ran out. It's called Payne's Gray. I use so much gray. I use it all the time. And when it runs out, I just refill it with the Daniel Smith one. So when the other colors run out, I'll probably do the same. These are my favorite fine liners. They are the Ohuhu liquid fine liner pens, and they are sold in packs of 9. You can buy them on Amazon or from Ohuhu directly, but they are really, really well priced, and they're my favorite fine liners ever. They draw super smooth. The nibs are super sturdy. I always noticed with the microns that I would end up destroying the nibs pretty easily, and these seem to hold up really well. So I think I'm on my like 3rd or 4th pack of these. I keep rebuying them. I love them so much. Next are my favorite brush pens. These are the Pentel Arts pocket brush pens. I have 2 of them. I keep a black ink cartridge in one and a gray ink cartridge in the other. And I really like these because they have, the tips are actual brushes. So you can get a really, really wide variation of lines. So you can go like super thick, or if you're careful, you can get like a nice thin line. And the ink is really easy to water down into washes if you go back over it with a water brush or something like that. So I just really love the versatility of these 2 brush pens. So I always keep them in my little art kit, and I use them a lot. My next favorite brush pen are the Tombow Fude brush pens in the soft brush type. This is another one where this is like one of my all-time favorites. I use it so much, and I buy them in packs of 5 off of Amazon, and I have them everywhere in my house. They're just so good. Next, I have my colored pencils. Most of these are the Prismacolor Premier colored pencils. I do have a couple of other brands sort of randomly mixed in. There are a couple of polychromos, and I think there's some Holbein and Faber-Castell gold fibers as well. But the vast majority of these are Prismacolor Premiers, which are my all-time favorite colored pencils. I think the polychromos are a close second, but yeah, the Premiers I use almost every day. You can see some of the colors I have are like just little nubs, but every time I go to the art store, I always grab some backups of the colors that I use the most and any other colors that look nice to me. I don't know, I just like always buying like a random colored pencil or two. But anyway, they're super smooth and the colors are beautiful, and I really love using them on top of alcohol marker or watercolor just to add some nice like texture. And the last art supply is my Holbein Artist Gouache. I have quite a bit. You can see I have quite a collection of colors here. I do have, there's one random Winsor Newton mixed in here, just ignore this one. But Holbein are my favorites. I just think there's a lot of really great gouache out there, and I have a couple of different brands that I use, including some cheaper gouache, like I have some Himi gouache, but the Holbein Artist Gouache is definitely my all-time favorite in terms of the coverage and the texture of the paint. It always dries into this like really satisfying, like matte, almost velvety kind of finish. I don't know if you can see it. Here's a random sketchbook page where you can kind of, I think because of the colors that I used here, like you can kind of see it pretty well, where they have this like beautiful velvet kind of finish. And I admittedly have not tried every single brand of artist quality gouache, but this one I fell in love with it, and I just haven't really bought anything else since. So maybe sometime I'll try some other like artist quality gouaches just to see. They're probably all similar. But yeah, I'm obsessed with these. One of my favorite YouTube channels to watch is Sarah Byrne Studio, and she has taught me so much about gouache. I've watched like all of her videos. I think they're so good for teaching you how to use it. I'm not the best, but I've learned so much from watching her videos, so I'll link her channel in my description. Anyway, I'm rambling, but gouache is super fun. So that is it for all of my favorite art supplies. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know what your favorite supplies are, and I'll see you in the next video.